Hello everyone, this is Naomi. Today I will give a presentation on Solinteg 3-phase C&I Hybrid Inverter MHT 25 to 50 kW. We have summarized some comprehensive highlights of this series of inverter, mainly in 4 parts: PV side, battery side, on-grid and backup side. On PV side, we have 8 PV inputs, 2 or 4 MPPT. 2 versions. We will talk about it in the following pages. Each PV input, the max input current is 50 ampere, so it can compatible with high power PV panels. And for DC and AC ratio, it is 150%. That means you can connect more PV panels on PV side. So more PV power can come into inverter to support the loads and charge the battery at the same time. On the battery side, the battery voltage range is very wide, 135 to 750 volts, so it covers a wide niche of customers' configuration. For charging and discharging current is 100 ampere, so it can fully charge a C&I battery in a short time and have a large discharging power, enables to connect the big power backup loads. If you choose the Solinteg C&I battery, the battery capacity is 6 to 100 kilowatt hours. Also, the inverter is integrated with EMS with 5 preset work modes. So you can set different work modes according to your different requirements. As for the on-grid side, we support 110% continuous AC overloading, enables high power generation. For example, 50 kilowatt inverter on-grid side, it can output 55 kilowatt continuously, and it can import 120% power from grid. So more power from grid can support the backup loads and charge the battery. So we have the industrial leading efficiency, 98.8%. In backup side, the on and off switching time is less than 20 milliseconds. It is UPS level, can ensure the security of backup loads. For the backup output power, compared with similar products for loads, it is more than that. 110%, which means a 10 kilowatt inverter can output 11 kilowatt continuously at backup side. For some loads, when they start, the current and power is very large. So our inverter supports 120% backup overloading for 60 seconds, so it can support the high startup power of the backup loads. Also, the inverter supports 110% unbalanced output, which can save more energy, especially on the areas that need export limit. And last, our inverter supports diesel generator access, which we will talk about detailedly in the following pages. This page has listed some key advantages of this series. Some of them we have talked about before, and what's more, the inverter has plug-plain terminals, so when you do the cable connection, you don't need to open the inverter. Very time-saving and convenient when you do the installation. And the inverter is designed with OLED display. So besides of application, you can check the data and do monitoring through the OLED display. 2 ways for you to do the configuration and the data monitoring. There are bright lights on the inverter with different colors to show the different working status, so you can know the inverter's working status at a glance. The protection level is IP65, so it's suitable for indoors and outdoors use. Next, compared with other same power range inverters in the market, our inverter is much smaller. That 2 people is enough to install it. The inverter supports 10 units paralleling connection, so you can extend the application from 50 kilowatt to 500 kilowatt. Our inverter have done the compatible test with many other brands' batteries, such as Solinteg Dynis, Sonic, Soluna Vehicle, and Solinteg EBS. So if you have the needs to connect with other brands' batteries, you can contact us. And what's more, The inverter has DO and AO connectors, so it can intelligently control the smart loads such as heat pump, water heat. This page introduces the front photo of the inverter. There are three indicators. First one is the power and alarm indicator. We also call it the breeze light. So it shows the status of the output power and the alarm status. The second one is grid indicator to show the status with the grid. The third one is communication indicator to show the communication with surveyor and with the battery. This part is the OLED display. So you can find not only the parameters, also the battery level and signal strength. You can all find it on the OLED display. You can check the display by operating this physical button. This page shows that our eye light have 4 colors to show the different status. If this indicator is gray or off, means no AC output, and if blue means normal, if orange means low battery, if red means some fault occurs. For our inverter, it is very easy to do the commissioning. You can just operate in our OLED display or in the application, scan the QR code, download and install it in your phone, and start to check the data and do the configurations. On the OLED display, there are 2 kinds of settings. One is general setting, supports language, the IP and Modbus setting, or DHCP settings. Some general setting. This setting you don't need to input the password. And another setting is advanced setting. It supports some safety code, the battery brands, work modes, and action. So they require you to input the password. So this series of inverter is horizontal design. Compared with vertical design, they leave more room in the bottom for installation and maintenance. Let's see the bottom connectors. From left to right is DC switch. There are 2 DC switches to control the different MPP checkers. And this is the PV terminals for connecting solar panels, the battery terminals for connecting battery, the COM1 port for connecting the communication modules. The COM2 port is multifunctional connector for connecting meter, the battery, RS485, DIE, DOR, CR, and 1 DO connectors. We have added a COM3 port as a multifunctional connector, the DO and AO for intelligently to control the smart loads. There are 3 output ports, on-grid backup and the diesel generator. In this page, you can see the comparison between the Solinteg Hybrid Inverter and with other same power range inverters in the market. Solinteg inverter just weighs 75 kg. The 2-person is enough to lift and install the inverter to hang it on doors. And for other similar products, it weighs more than 200 kg. So you need to use the forklift to install the inverter. This page shows what benefits that 15 ampere PV inputs can bring to customers. If customers use the big current PV panels, for example, 14 ampere, and they used the inverter with PV inputs 11 ampere or 12.5 ampere, the big current of panels will be limited by the inverter. That will cause a power loss. But if they choose the Solinteg 15 ampere PV inputs, it will let the big current come into inverter smoothly. Thus, no power loss. So if customers use the high current PV panels that more than 15 ampere, such as the 210 millimeters, we also have solution. In this page, this version of inverter, there are 4 MPPT. Each MPPT have 2 PV strings. The current of each MPPT is 30 ampere. You can connect the high current PV panels by using one of the 2 PV strings in the MPPT without any power loss. This page, you can see another version of 40 and 50 kilowatt inverter. They are only 2 MPPT, and for each MPPT, there are 4 PV inputs. So the MPPT current is 60 ampere. If you connect with the 210 millimeter PV panels, you can connect 3 PV strings with each MPPT. PV. So total 6 PV strings you can connect with one inverter. Solinteg Hybrid Inverter has a function of fast stop. Fast stop means that you can stop the inverter's connection, including AC side with solar panels with battery, quickly just with a press button. So without this function, if you want to stop an inverter, maybe it may take you 1 or 3 minutes for you to turn off the AC switch, the DC switch with battery with solar panels. But with this function, you can stop the inverter just with a press when the accident occurs, and prevent the system damage from being large, and it is safe when you do the maintenance. And our inverter is integrated with the dry contactor function, which can realize the function of control the smart loads such as the heat pump and the water heat. There are generally 3 modes to control the smart loads: the manual mode, the time mode, the SOC mode. This page shows our diesel generator solutions. We control it through the dry contactor signal. When the signal is active, we open the contactor and the generator will switch on. When the signal is inactive, the open contactor will switch off, so the generator will be turned off. The AC power generated by the generator will support the load consumption and charge the battery. In this part, we want to introduce how we get the less than 20 milliseconds switch time. For the watt grid frequency, usually 50 Hz, 60 Hz. For 50 Hz, that means 1 second that we will have 50 grid circles. So for each circles, it is 20 milliseconds. The inverter will switch from on-grid to off-grid if it doesn't detect half of the circles, which is 10 milliseconds. It also takes some time for the relaying operation. That's why we need less than 20 milliseconds to switch from on and off grid. This part introduces the inverter's excellent heat dissipation. The inverter is horizontal design, so compared with vertical design, the heat dissipation channel is shorter, so it can accelerate the heat. Also, they have 6 intelligent fans to ensure the fast heat dissipation. The core components such as the boost power device, and IGBT, we use the high thermal conductivity aluminum heat sink. And each conductor has its inductor box with the thermoconductive silicon grease. The excellent heat dissipation can ensure the reliability and long life performance of the components. This page shows the inverter supports up to 10 units on-grid paralleling connection with master slave controlling technology. We can expand a 3-phase hybrid system from 25 kW to 500 kW, suitable for commercial and small industrial projects. And Solinteg Hybrid Inverter has done the fully compatible test with Solinteg C and I batteries. So the battery configuration range is from 6 to nearly 100 kWh. We are also developing the off-grid paralleling through master slave controlling. And if you have the off-grid paralleling needs, you can contact us. Okay, I think we have come to the last part, the work modes. So let's introduce it one by one. The first work mode is general mode. In the general mode, it's when the PV power is sufficient. The power from PV will first lead to supplying the load, then excess power to charge the battery, and any surplus power will be fed to the grid. When the PV power is insufficient to supply the load, the battery will discharge power to fill the power gap, and the grid will join in if it is still not enough. This work mode called peak load shifting, which is used in some places where the grid has regulated the max power that you can take from grid. We call it Pmax. So when the P load is less than the Pmax, the PV power will charge the battery first, and load is supplied by the grid. When the battery is full, the PV will supply the load together with the grid, while battery doesn't. And when the P load has accessed the Pmax, the inverter will take power from PV, battery, and the grid to offset the power gap. And the economic work mode usually used in some places that the electricity prices has peak and valley. So customers can charge power from grid or PV in valley hours by setting the app, discharge power in peak hours to supply the loads and feed to grid. This is UPS level, which usually used in some places that the grid is frequently interrupted. So power from PV will firstly charge the battery until it's full. The load will be supplied by the grid during the charging period. The battery will not discharge power as long as grid is connected. When the grid fails and PV power is insufficient to meet the load's consumption, the battery will take part in discharging power to supply the loads connected with the backup side. The last work mode is off-grid mode, usually used in some places where there is no grid for a long time. So this is a purely off-grid mode. The power from PV will supply the backup loads first and then charge the battery if there is any surplus power. So when the power from PV isn't enough, the battery will discharge to supply the backup loads together with PV. For all the work modes, you can set it through the inverter's display or in our applications or in the web monitoring. If you don't know how to set it, you can contact us. Thanks for your listening.